Lesson 1, the necessity for learning logic of the course AIS 2242 about logic or Mantiq. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم أخرجنا من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمنا بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين والحمد لله رب العالمين. So in this course, the students are expected to have the following learning outcomes. This course deals with the study of the classical logic as developed by Ibn Sīnā or Avicenna and other scholars. At the end of this course, students must be 1. Able to have a good grasp of the different technical terms in classical logic or Mantiq. 2. Able to understand the different premises of reasoning skills. 3. Able to distinguish the 4 relationships and 5 universals. And number 4, able to appreciate the importance of logic in reasoning and classifying knowledge. So how about the textbook? Pattern after Ibn Sina's classic treatment of the subject, Learning Logic, a short course, which is our textbook, is a standard textbook in the Islamic seminary or ḥawzah al-ilmiyyah that concisely yet comprehensively deals with such topics as the usage and definition of logic, expressions or alfāẓ, classification of words, concept or we call mafhūm, and referent or miṣdāq, universal, kullī and particular, juz'ī, the 4 relationships, the 5 universals, definition or ḥadd and its types, proposition or qaḍiyah and its kinds, modals, conversion or acts, argumentation and its kinds, conjunctive and exceptive syllogism, inductive or istiqrā and analogy or qiyās, the 5 skills, proof or burhān, dialectics or jadal, fallacy or mughāliṭah, rhetoric or khataba, and poetry or shi'r. As for the grading system, since we are online, basically it will be comprising of the formative assessment quizzes, which will be 40%, and the summative assessment exam, which will be 60% of the total grade. For this course, we will have the following lessons. 1. The necessity for learning logic, the subject of logic, the usage and definition of logic as instrumental science, the formulator of logic, a discussion on expressions or alfāẓ in logic, classifications of words, concept and referent, whether universal, kullī, and particular, juz'ī. 4 relationships, the 5 universals, divisions of the 5 universals, definition and its types, the rules of definition, and if we have still time within the course of the semester, we could even proceed to other subjects and lessons in the textbook that we have. Okay, now let us deal with the first lesson, the necessity for learning logic. First, we will deal with thinking, followed by thinking as man's advantage over animals, the occurrence of mistake in thinking, and logic as the appraiser of thinking. When a teacher gives the student a mathematical or geometric problem to solve, actually he wants the student to think, to engage in thinking. And for this reason, some define thinking as the movement of intellect from the known or ma'lumat to the unknown or majhulat. But this definition is not exact. Why? Because firstly, this movement can go from the unknown to the known and vice versa. It is possible to start with the known and then to delve into what is unknown. Secondly, this endeavor called thinking does not always end up in a conclusion. In fact, sometimes after hours of thinking, some problems are not solved or no conclusion could be given easily. So here is a more accurate definition of thinking that we can propose. Thinking is the movement and attempt of mind or the mind between the known and the unknown. So here, between the known and the unknown, it is not specified which comes first, the known or the unknown. It could be one way or the other. And when we talk about man's advantage over animals, it must be noted that the phenomenon called thinking in the human being is an existential and involuntary matter. But improving and making it dynamic or weakening and eradicating it is something voluntary and arbitrary as well. And thinking is considered one of the advantages of the human being. For this reason, natiqiyya, the literal meaning actually is the ability to talk, no? Which means the power of thinking and intellection is regarded as the distinctive differentia or fossil that man has over other animals or over animals. The lexical and technical meaning of differentia or fossil will be discussed later in our lessons. No doubt a human being does not always conclude correctly. Rather, he sometimes arrives at wrong conclusions, not just once or rarely or sometimes, but in fact, sometimes in many cases. This can be proved by two reasons. Firstly, one will truly realize that his thoughts and ideas are not always real and according to reality, but are wrong in many cases. Secondly, it is proven through experience that many intellectuals and thinkers themselves has confessed to these intellectual mistakes and wrong conclusions. The power of thinking, therefore, is something which is basically God-given and inherent, yet human beings may do wrong in utilizing and applying this power to discover the unknown. So logic is like a guidebook that shows us the way of correct thinking, and its rules specify cases of mistakes in thinking. So logic was born out of the necessity to avoid the occurrence of mistake in thinking. So as sorts of review questions, let us define thinking. What is the superiority of the human being over other animals? Why there is any mistake in man's thought? What is the purpose of logic? And as a practical exercise, write down specifically your intellectual mistakes yesterday and today. Next meeting, we will deal with lesson 2, which is the subject of logic, insha'Allah ta'ala. Thank you so much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.